Agnes Ganja Boyajou, otherwise known as Mother Teresa, was born on August 26, 1910, in Skopje, North Macedonia. Unlike my other videos, we're not going to focus on her life, but how she helped the poor and the dying. But in order to understand where this love for the poorest of the poor came from, we have to start with her mother. Mother Teresa often would tell people that charity begins at home. From this advice, we can tell that she learned this from her own experience. She had one brother and one sister and lived in comfort with her parent until one day her father died unexpectedly. Then things got hard. The family experienced poverty for the first time in their lives. It was through the influence of her mother that Agnes learned the richness of poverty, of sharing with others when they barely had anything to share, and true compassion for the poor. Home, she would later say in life, is where the mother is. Agnes would go with her mother to visit those who were hungry and needed help. Once a week, they visited an old woman who was no longer able to take care of herself, and they would clean her house and make her meals. The woman was an alcoholic whom the family had abandoned. She was covered in wounds that Agnes and her mother bathed. When the woman died, they took on her 6 children as well. Their home was always open to all, but especially to the poor. Even before Agnes's father died, there was once an elderly woman who would regularly come to their house looking to be fed. Welcome her warmly with love, her father instructed Agnes. My child, never eat a single mouthful unless you are sharing it with others. And so, compassion and charity were rooted firmly in Agnes's life from her earliest years. The hungry, the forgotten, the unwanted, and abandoned were to be sought out and cared for. It was the prelude of what would be in God's plan in Agnes's life, to love the unloved and care for those who no one wanted. Fast forward many years later, when Agnes became the woman we know today as Mother Teresa. When Mother Teresa received what she called the call within the call, she had to get permission to leave her Loreto convent to work directly with the poor. This wasn't an easy task, and it took some time to get approval, but when she was told that she was on her own, no longer a Loreto nun, and that the Archbishop was now her superior, the only thing she had to say was, "Can I go to the slums now?" At the advice of her spiritual director, she received a month of medical training to learn basic care. Her spiritual director thought that she should have at least 6 months of training, if not longer, but Mother Teresa thought 1 month was enough. He argued that she could not have learned everything she needed in just 1 month, but she countered that she had learned enough to take care of the poor. Mother Teresa could often come across as being unreasonable, which could frustrate people at times. But she didn't work by reason. She worked by love. "I do not think the way you do," she would say when it was pointed out to her, as it frequently was, that the efforts of her missionaries of charity were but small drops in the ocean of need. "I do not add up. I only subtract from the total number of poor or dying. With children, $1 saves a life. Could you say $1 buys a life? No, but it is used to save it. So we use ourselves to save what we can." People assume that Mother Teresa started her mission with much zeal and enthusiasm, and so it was. However, her zeal and enthusiasm didn't come from emotion, but love. Love was what kept her there. Otherwise, had she not been convinced that she was where God wanted her to be, she would have left for the comforts of the convent back in Loreto, where she had been so happy. She battled loneliness and poverty on a daily basis. She wrote in her diary one day, "Our Lord wants me to be a free nun covered with the poverty of the cross. Today I learned a good lesson. The poverty of the poor must be so hard for them. While looking for a home, I walked and walked till my arms and legs ached. I thought how much they must ache in body and soul, looking for a home, food, and health. Then the comfort of Loreto came to tempt me. You have only to say the word, and all that will be yours again," the tempter kept on saying. "A free choice, my God, and out of love for you, I desired to remain and do whatever be your holy will in my regard. I did not let a single tear come." Once in a while the tears did come, however, especially during those first few months on her own. People might be surprised to hear that she didn't even know how to beg for money. "Everyone sees my weakness," she acknowledged. One priest whom she approached for financial aid treated her as if she were doing something very wrong. Telling her that he did not understand, he walked away from her without even saying goodbye. She realized then that she was no good at begging, but told herself, "Never mind, that too will come." One day she came across a dying woman who was lying in the streets. She writes, "I saw a woman dying on the street outside Campbell Hospital. I picked her up and took her to the hospital, but she was refused admission because she was poor. She died on the street. I knew then that I must make a home for the dying, a resting place for people going to heaven." In 1952, Mother Teresa opened her first hospice with the help from Calcutta officials. She converted an abandoned Hindu temple into the Kaligat Home for the Dying, which means the home of the pure heart. The sick and the destitute, the beggar picked up from the streets, the leper rejected by his family, the dying man refused admittance to a hospital. All were taken in, fed, washed, and given a place to rest. Sometimes this came about through whatever means sisters had to use. There were times when Mother Teresa transported people in dire need of help in nothing but a wheelbarrow. They were given medical attention that they needed, but for those who wouldn't recover, they were given the opportunity to die with dignity in accordance with their faith. Muslims were to read the Quran, Hindus received water from the Ganges, and Catholics received extreme unction. The goal was to give them what Mother Teresa called a beautiful death. A beautiful death, Mother Teresa said, is for people who lived like animals, to die like angels, loved and wanted. One old man who had never slept in a bed said with a radiant smile, "Now I can die like a human being." Not all people supported Mother Teresa's mission. As she and her sisters walked the street, gathering the poor and the sick, groups of young people who were fearful of the Christian women tending to the non-Christian people wanted them out. Most of the time, they would communicate this by throwing stones at the sisters. However, the leader of the group saw how carefully and tenderly the women gathered the suffering and how lovingly they were treated. He turned to his followers and told them that he would get rid of the sisters, but only on one condition. They must convince their mothers and sisters to take over the care of the poor and provide them with the same comfort and treatment. They couldn't help but feel moved as they watched the sisters apply ointment to wounds that were caused by maggot, or how they washed feces off their bodies with so much love that you would think that the sisters were taking care of their own family. They listened to the story of how Mother Teresa had lifted a young Hindu priest from a pile of his own vomit and filth and brought him to the home of the dying, where he died a beautiful death. They saw the good they were doing and how respectful they were of their beliefs, so they did not run Mother Teresa and her sisters out. Mother Teresa's work wasn't just for the poor, but she saw a need for the children and babies who were abandoned. Soon a home opened for those children and babies who were not wanted, and soon it was known as a place that mothers could go to drop them off. No child was ever turned away. If there was no space, they just simply made some. Some babies were found in garbage cans and drains. Others were simply abandoned on the city railroad platforms. Babies who survived the shock of premature birth, attempted abortion, or simply of being unwanted were taken in, held, and loved. But some came too late to be saved, but never too late to be loved, even if it was just for the last minute of their lives. Many times the sisters were criticized for the lack of ability to save lives. But saving lives wasn't Mother Teresa's mission. Her mission was that every person, no matter how young or old, race or religion, should be able to die with dignity. I don't care what people say about the death rate. Even if they die an hour later, we must let them come. These babies must not die uncared for and unloved, because even a tiny baby can feel. If they were to die, then they must do so beautifully. At the time, there were 30,000 known lepers in Calcutta, and Mother Teresa was already treating 1,136 of them. She didn't look at the numbers. She saw each person individually, and so she never became discouraged. "So wonderful is the way of God," she commented. "We will eventually get them all." Someone had once told Mother Teresa that the sisters were not achieving very much. She told them, "Even if they helped one person, that's all right. Jesus would have died for one person, for one sinner." Doctors and nurses who came to volunteer their time were horrified that the sisters didn't exercise the rule of infection control by wearing gloves. The missionaries of charity were not allowed to wear gloves. No physical barriers were allowed between the sisters and the dying. No one was to feel diseased or feel like a source of disgust to another. Someone once told Mother Teresa that he would not help or touch a leper for 1,000 pounds. "Neither would I," she said, "but I would willingly tend him for the love of God." It was the rejected Jesus that she wanted her sisters to see in those that they served. Each time Jesus wanted to prove his love for us, he was rejected by mankind. Before his birth, his parents asked for a simple dwelling place, and there was none because his parents were poor. The innkeeper looked at the poor dress of Joseph the carpenter, thinking that he will not be able to pay, and so he was refused. Again, before the redemption and the resurrection, he was rejected by his people. They did not want him, they wanted Caesar. They did not want him, they wanted Barabbas. At the end, as if his own father did not want him also, because he was covered with our sins, in his loneliness he cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" The yesterday is always today with God. Therefore today in the world Jesus stands covered with our sins. In the distressing disguise of my sister, my brother, do I want him? If we are not careful, the riches of the worldly spirit will become an obstacle. We will not be able to see God. For Jesus has said, "Blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God." In 1970, she visited England to open a house in London. At the time, it was winter. She was taken on a tour by a charity committed to the care of the city's derelicts, alcoholics, and drug addicts. She saw the strip clubs, met some of the homeless curled up on the gratings where warm air rose from the kitchens of West End hotels. And later, when visiting again in 1988, she witnessed the plight of the occupants of London's cardboard city, where she had seen those sleeping in the bitter cold in what she called little cardboard coffins. This is a different poverty, she noted. The poverty of the spirit, of loneliness and being unwanted. The missionaries of charity founded the Home of Compassion to tend to these poor, to feed the homeless and knock on the doors of the elderly and the lonely. One time on the east end of London, the sisters attempted to visit a woman who lived in a row of council homes, which are rented out to those with low income or who are unable to look after themselves. The sisters had noticed a bad smell coming from the home of an elderly woman who refused to open the door to anyone. Eventually, one sister put her foot in the door, and finally the woman let them in. Once inside, they realized why the woman didn't want them to enter. The toilet was blocked, and the contents had overflowed, spreading to the 2 rooms of the small house. Without a word or any look of disgust on their faces, the sisters borrowed shovels and filled 5 bags with feces. They washed and cleaned the furniture and curtains. And as they worked, the poor old woman, who was ashamed and embarrassed, said, "Do you still love me now?" "I love you even more now," was the immediate response. The world was recognizing the good that Mother Teresa was doing and wanted to reward her, although she didn't want any awards or recognition. But she also cared about the rich and the wealthy and saw the opportunity to serve them as well. At one of those ceremonies, she took the opportunity to tell a story of a leper who had rung the doorbell of the mother house. After offering the leper food and a blanket, to which he refused, he said, "Mother, people have been saying that you received some prize. This morning I decided that whatever I got through begging today, I would hand over to you this evening. That is why I'm here." He showed her 2 pence in his bowl. Mother Teresa told the audience, "The gift was small. I keep it even today on my table because this small gift reveals to me the largeness of the human heart. It is beautiful." The leper's small gift she kept on her table. The noble prize she accidentally lost at the reception following the ceremony. After searching, it was found among the coats in the entrance hall. We are all called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Mother Teresa was extraordinary only because she said yes to God's call with no conditions. We look at her with awe and admiration, not really seeing that we have the same call in our lives, to tend to the sick, to reach out to the lonely, to want the unwanted. Start with a smile, and God will give you the rest. My very dear children, let us love Jesus with our whole heart and soul. Let us bring him many souls. Keep smiling. Smile at Jesus in your suffering. For to be a real missionary of charity, you must be a cheerful victim. There is nothing special for you to do, but allow Jesus to live his life in you by accepting whatever he gives and giving whatever he takes with a big smile.